Hello and welcome in everybody to the Kocsis Sports Podcast, episode 6. The last episode that Jake and I did last week, the audio was corrupted, so unfortunately we had to take that down, but we got it fixed. So looking ahead to a fun card this week that the UFC execs blessed us with as a fight night instead of a pay-per-view, so I can watch it in my living room without having to stream it. Just kidding, totally, Dana.
Oh yeah.
But as always, if you're looking into getting to streaming, go ahead to my description in the video, download Streamlabs Ultra, get Streamlabs Ultra, get a year membership. You won't regret it. It's really good stuff, super easy to use, super cheap. But how are you doing, Jake? It's been a couple weeks since we posted one of these.
I'm doing good, other than the fact that our favorite fighter fell victim to Sean Strickland over the weekend. But we can get into the recap of that.
Yeah, that was not fun to watch. I was actually on a cruise this week, so I had to wait until after I get back and watch all the clips and the highlights and rewatch all the fights. And I was kind of texting Jake during it, and he was like, "Oh no, Sean rocked him in the first round," and I was like, "No." And then it was just I was looking at the stats as it was going, and I was like, Sean is just laying an absolute whipping on him. Like, there's no way.
Something I never thought I'd see.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah. But I mean, props to Sean. He came out. He really exploited Izzy's weakness, and just he refused to defend against the takedown. He refused to defend against the leg kick, and he just kind of came out and was super defensive in his boxing style and just won the fight with a lot of 1-2 combos and a lot of jabs and a lot of crosses. And I guess that's the way you got to be Izzy, right? Is you just okay, I know you're not going to take me down. You're probably not going to kick me in the legs a lot. So just hold your hands up, defend yourself, and beat me that way. Get around my defense. So probably really razzled Izzy because I don't think he's ever fought somebody quite like that. Yoel Romero kind of did that for a little bit, but then got out of his comfort zone. And then I remember Paulo Costa kind of fought in a similar fashion in their fight, but Izzy obviously was able to
Take
get the
advantage of the
knockout there
kicks.
and take advantage of the kicks. But I
Sean
think that
Strickland really did a good job of keeping him pressed up against the cage.
yeah, he put a lot of pressure on him. And he did exactly what I thought he would do. Right, I didn't think he'd be able to beat Izzy on the feet. But I thought he would be approaching this fight completely from the feet and refusing to go to the ground because he doesn't like to go to the ground even though he's pretty good at it, and he doesn't want to wrestle even though he's pretty good at it. So
Yeah.
he did exactly what I thought he was going to do, but he executed it extremely well. I do believe Izzy's camp, his coach, when he said, if we had the rematch tomorrow, there's just a couple things we tweak and we win.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I agree.
Izzy's great. I think a lot of people don't want to see him get that immediate rematch just because, he lost the belt to Pajeda, he got it back, and then, he lost it again. So he's 1-2 in the last 3 and with no title defenses. That's something that Robert Whitaker actually was on a podcast with, I think, Ariel Helwani this week, and he said it's kind of silly to give him another immediate rematch just because he didn't have any defenses against with the title. But I think Izzy, in my mind, Izzy's earned that right to get that immediate rematch. If he loses it again, it's a different story. But he's shown that he's dominant. I mean, he came out, he knocked out Alex Pajeda with one punch. I think he beats Sean Strickland on the rematch easily. Dana White even said right after, like, that's the fight. Like, that completely makes sense, like, the rematch. So, is there anybody, I know we both probably want to see the rematch happen immediately. We're both big Izzy fans. We want to see him get the belt. But if not Izzy, is there anybody that comes to mind that you'd like to see Sean Strickland fight next?
I think it'd have to be Duplessis.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
The fight makes more sense to me to be Izzy. It definitely is, like you said, it's starting. Like he had the loss to Pereira, yeah, and then he got it back, and now he lost again. So no title defenses with the belt. It's. I do still think that he deserves the immediate rematch, but it's starting to get into the point to where it doesn't feel like he should, just because He needs some momentum on these wins. But I do think if he rematches, he'll just win it. But he's got to keep winning past that.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that Duplessis was more of a favor to beat Izzy than Sean Strickland. So who knows how that fight would play out. But
Yeah, I mean Dricus's wild striking style, and the way that he kind of throws reckless abandon. The way, I mean, that's how he knocked out Robert Whitaker, right? So
mhm.
it definitely would have been a much more interesting fight, I think. But I think that fight, I think he definitely would not have used the same game plan that Sean Strickland used, and I think it would have been an easier fight for Izzy to win, just given that he probably would have just continued to fight the way he fights instead of making adjustments like Sean did.
Yeah.
So Izzy probably would have definitely been able to take advantage of the counter strikes in that one. If it's not Izzy, outside of Dricus, Duplessis that you mentioned, I think that obviously that makes the most sense if it's not Izzy. But something I saw today, that Jared Cannonier was kind of tweeting at Sean Strickland. So I wouldn't mind
I could see
seeing that
that.
fight. If it's not Izzy, obviously, if it's not Duplessis, and
I don't
or
think that'll happen.
yeah, no, neither. I don't think
But
that'll
it
happen.
is like way back in
Yeah,
the
yeah, I
line,
think that would be.
possibly.
I think that would be a great fight, just considering that I think Sean Strickland beat Cannonier in that fight.
They
Watching it.
100% should rematch
Oh
regardless
yeah,
at some
yeah.
point.
So if there's a world where Sean holds on to the belt and he defends it a time or two, then obviously Cannonier and him would be a massive fight. But
Yeah.
I don't see that happening. But Sean, I mean, obviously proved us all wrong once. So who's to say he doesn't do it again? So, but the other fights we went over, and we predicted. So we had Tyson Pedro taking on Anton Turkalj. Tyson Pedro, the Aussie, got the first round knockout. We both predicted Pedro to win, so not really any crazy surprise there.
hmm
Justin Taffa versus Austin Lane, former NFL defensive lineman. If you didn't know that, it's pretty cool.
Didn't. That's cool.
Yeah, so he got a first round knockout. Justin
Yeah,
Taffa
boy.
got a first round knockout on Lane. Jake picked Taffa. I picked Lane. There's two fights we differed in this week, and we split them. We both went 3-2. Then you have Manel Cape, who took on Felipe Dos Santos, who is
Dos
very young.
Did you watch that fight?
I did not watch that fight, but
I will
it's
tell you, Dos
he put up
Santos
a good fight apparently.
looked like he was a little shaky at first. He was being very reckless and being punished because Cape's so good at punishing counter striking.
Yeah,
But once Dos Santos kind of got the groove of fighting, it's his debut, short notice. Once he got in his groove, very impressive for what, the situation that he was put in.
yeah. I mean, and we
So
talked about
I'm excited to see what he does in the future. But I mean, like we were talking about, um, Manel Cape's just
mhm.
vetted, and he's such a great fighter. And anyone that's debuting and taking a fight on short notice is almost guaranteed to lose.
Yeah, and like we talked about, Cape was slated to fight Kara France, the number 5,
hmm
ranked flyweight. So it's definitely, we thought that this was going to be a statement win for Cape. And I mean, yes, he won via unanimous decision, but we also said that if Dos Santos makes it to the decision, then that's a win for Dos Santos.
Yeah.
Just given UFC debut against the number 10 ranked flyweight. Short notice, very young. Like, I mean, this guy came out and he almost matched him in strikes. He
Yeah.
outstruck him to the body, to the legs. I mean, he shot 5 takedowns. He didn't hit one, but you know, it's pretty impressive for him to go out and do that against the number 10 ranked flyweight in the world. So this guy's
hmm
definitely going to be in the UFC for a bit. I don't see a world where he's going to start fighting guys his level with time to prep, and he's going to absolutely dominate them.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
I look forward to seeing where his career goes. But next fight, this is the
Plus where he's fighting out of, he's gonna get some good
oh
experience with that.
yeah, he's with Do Bronx and all them. Shoot the box,
hmm
right? Yeah, I mean
Yep.
it's yeah, those guys are studs. But next fight, Tai Tuivasa Aussie versus Alexander Volkov. This is another fight that we disagreed on. Jake said that he thought Tai would come out and he'd be able to get. What you said he'd be able to knock him out, right? You said he'd catch him with a strike in the second round, third
Yeah,
round.
I thought it was gonna be a knockout. I can't remember what round I said.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, and I could see it go. That was the only way I could see Tai Tuivasa winning. I just felt like that could have been a possibility. And if you watch the fight, he did do a good job at attacking that lead leg on Alexander Volkov, and was starting to weaken it. But he got taken. He kept slipping on his feet a lot and being reckless, and that's kind of his fight style, just kind of
Yeah,
swinging and banging.
I
But
mean that's what he says,
you
swing and
make
bang.
sometimes you make one move and you slip on your feet or get caught off balance, and Volkov took advantage of that and got him to the ground.
Yeah,
By
yeah.
by that point in the fight, tied to Tuivasa being so big, and obviously he's not in the best shape, as anyone could tell. He's just gassed, so he's not able to fend off a submission. So
Yeah, I mean second round Ezekiel choke, not a choke you see very often, but second
yeah,
round Ezekiel choke by Alexander Volkov. I mean, he did outstrike him in the legs, 17-10, but he was outstruck to the body 18-7, and to the head 65-4. I mean, watching this fight, there was a couple moments for Ty, but Alexander kind of just dominated him. I think Alexander Volkov is just the better all around fighter. I think that's why he was a big favorite in this. I thought it was going to be a dominating performance by Volkov. I like Ty, as a fighter, as a person, but to me, he doesn't have a top 10 heavyweight skill set at all. I mean, his skill set is just land a big shot and like bite down on your mouth guard and hope that the other guy gets knocked out. Like he, he knocked out the last person he won, right, was against Derek Lewis, and Derek Lewis at that time was very unmotivated, like didn't care much, wasn't taking care of himself, and I mean he's since like gotten a dietitian and like got a new workout plan, and he's doing all this cardio and stuff, and he's like trying to stay in like good shape. Like Derek Lewis is, I mean, he's probably going to be kind of scary going forward. He got that big win a little bit ago, but Derek Lewis was winning that fight, and Ty hit him with a big shot and knocked him out. So that's just the kind of fighter he is. Those guys are exciting to watch. I'm interested to see where he goes from here, because this is his third loss in a row.
I think he faces some scrubs and
Yeah, he's probably gonna have to
really
face
knocks
somebody
him out.
outside of the top 10. Maybe an unranked guy, maybe a guy close to rank 15. I mean, he's gonna have to fight somebody low, and I mean, Lord forbid if he loses to one of those guys, the leash probably isn't too long for him. So I mean, if he loses another fight to a lower ranked guy, he might find himself on the hot seat, just being cut from the UFC in general. If he loses two more fights, he's
Yeah,
probably gone. So he's got. I mean, he's in make or break territory. Going into his next fight. So, but I like him. Hopefully he finds some success. Hopefully he kind of broadens his skill set a little bit and take some time off. I'd love to see him take like maybe a year and just focus on other aspects of his game other than just throwing that huge haymaker. Like, I mean, I know that's what has gotten him success, and it got him to the UFC, and he's had success in the UFC with that. But like, I mean, if you're going to sustain success in the UFC, you have to be well rounded, even if at that size. I mean, Francis Ngannou, is a good example of somebody who's very one dimensional almost with the big shots. But I mean, even him, he was way more, well rounded skill wise than Tai Tuivasa is. But excited to see where it goes. And then obviously, Sean Strickland beat Israel Adesanya, massive underdog. People were talking about biggest upset in UFC history and all this stuff, and I don't think it's quite the biggest, but I mean it's definitely probably top 3 or 4. There's been some big upsets, but definitely something that not many people saw coming. So very disappointing as well. But I think we both think Israel will bounce back. So anything
yeah.
to
Just
add
gotta move
about?
forward.
Yeah, anything to add about the card last week, or are you ready to move on to this upcoming card?
No, I will say, you know, Izzy, as always, very humble. Um, even coming off losses, immediately goes to Sean Strickland, raises his hand. It just shows, aside from the business and, making drama, I think both these guys make the drama. I don't think they actually. I think Strickland says a lot of things he doesn't actually mean
Yeah,
for
I
the
mean,
attention and the money.
yeah,
Um, but you can see immediately after the fight, these guys are, right up to each other, giving each other praise. Even Sean Strickland was telling Izzy that he's a legend and stuff, and it just goes to show how much respect everyone has for each other. A lot of people, not everyone. Some people are just straight Conor McGregor, Khabib type level, but
yeah. I mean, some of these fighters.
Izzy's just, he has that ability to take a loss on the chin and bounce back from it. So, um, you know, it could be one of the biggest upsets in UFC history, but I think Izzy, doesn't see it as that. He's just going to watch the tape, figure out what he did wrong, hopefully get a rematch and come back and bounce back from it.
Yep, completely
But
agree.
all the fights, most of these fights were very entertaining. So it was, I think a lot of people were saying this card wasn't that good before it went, but there's a lot of great fights.
Yeah, I mean, Australia. Um, Sydney. There's a new agreement. I think there's going to be like 3 cards, like one a year or something like that for the next like 3 years or 4 years, or I can't remember the exact length, but they're going to start having. I mean, they haven't had a card in Sydney in a long time, and they're gonna have a card there every year for like the next so many years. So it's going to be exciting. I love the international cards. I love when they can have international cards and have these fighters. I mean, because a lot of these fighters are international. So I
Yeah.
love when they can have these cards and have the fighters fight in their homes, countries and stuff. I think that's so cool. Just the atmosphere too, like in Paris and Sydney, and like it's just so cool to see these fighters be able to go, fight in their hometown as opposed to flying halfway across the world and fighting in Vegas or something like that. So, but super cool. This upcoming card, let's get to it. Grasso versus Shevchenko, 2. So this is a fight night card. Thank you to the UFC execs for that. This card has a lot of exciting fights. So we're gonna start. We're gonna cover all of the fights on this card. So we've been just covering the main card, the main 5 card fights. But what we're gonna start doing is covering all the fights. So hopefully we can get through them relatively fast. But the first fight on the board, Josephine Knutson, I don't know how to say that name, versus Marnik Mann. Josephine is a minus 700 favorite currently, and a plus 500 underdog for Mann. I'm getting an ad on ESPN. Okay, that's good. It's getting a freaking ad from YouTube. All right, minus 700 favorite for Josephine. Mann is a plus 500 underdog. I think Josephine wins this fight. She is an all-star team member. That's where Hamzat Chimaev trains. I think Mann has bad striking. She's got decent clinch work, decent game, top control game. Josephine's going to defend her takedowns and control this fight on the feet. She's going to outstrike her, I think. I think probably a TKO, probably knockout. But she's just the much better athlete. She's a little younger. I think that she's going to outstrike her, keep this game, like I said, keep this fight on the feet. And she's just going to, she's a much better athlete. She's just going to out-athlete her.
Yep, I agree, 100%. I mean, the odds are, I do see, sometimes the upsets happen, obviously, like Izzy and Strickland. But I think at this stage where these fighters are at, especially when those odds are that stacked, you pretty much are going to see those people winning. But aside from that, I mean, just shots landed per minute, significant strikes, shots absorbed. I mean, significantly less on Josephine. Her defense is a lot better. I mean, the defense on Mann is 18%. That's not good. So I see this being a knockout. Simple as that. Josephine wins.
Yep. Sounds good. So the next fight, we have Alex Reyes versus Charlie Campbell. Reyes is a plus 360 dog, and Campbell is a minus 480 favorite. Do you want to go into what you think is going to happen? It's a men's lightweight bout, and the last
So
one was a women's strawweight bout.
I got Campbell winning. Also taking the favorite. He is so Alex Reyes has more fights to his record. But the crazy stat that I'm seeing is this. I know it's because he doesn't have as many fights under his belt, but the 9.32 shots landed per minute, 43% significant strikes. They both take tons of shots. Now, just because Alex Reyes has so much more fights under his belt and he has 8.35 shots absorbed per minute, that to me is crazy. So I think that Campbell's just going to get more heavy hitting shots off on Reyes and end up knocking him out.
Yeah, I agree with the knockout. I think this fight's going to end in a Campbell, knockout or TKO. Dominic Reyes is actually Alex Reyes' brother. And I don't think Alex Reyes has fought in like 5 years. And I think that the last time he fought, he got knocked out by Mike Perry, who's since the new internet troll slash bare knuckle boxing club,
Yeah.
like champ or not champ, but like dog. He's the dog in the freaking bare knuckle fighting now.
hmm
But he dealt with all these injuries. He dealt with a spinal infection during this time that limited him to. Campbell jumped in on this fight short notice, yes. And there's always that wild card where Reyes is like, has all this time off. No one knows how he fights. He comes in, he does really good, just purely because he had this long layoff. But there's also, ring rust is a real thing. Like, I mean, you step out of the
Yeah.
cage for that long, you come back and you fight a guy who's 8 years younger than you. I mean, 28 years old to 36 years. I mean, you fight a guy who's 8 years younger than you, who's throws a lot of shots. He's gonna get clipped, and he's gonna be, he's gonna get hit with some quick shots, and he's gonna be like, oh, why am I in this cage right now? I don't know what's
hmm
happening. So I think Campbell wins. I don't know why Alex Reyes is still fighting in the UFC right now. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
like 36 years old.
yeah,
That's
36. I
that's getting
mean,
up there, bud.
it's getting up there. Long layoff, like spinal infection, all these injuries. Like, I mean, dude got knocked out by the like ancient Mike Perry back in the day 5 years ago. Like, I just don't see this fight going to Alex Reyes at all.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's always that wild card where like he comes in and just does really well because he's nobody really knows. But yeah, I think Campbell definitely takes this one. I don't really see a way. Next fight is a women's flyweight fight: Tracy Cortez versus Jasmine. I'm gonna butcher this last name. Jesud Avicius. I think that's how you say it.
We'll
Jesud
go with that.
Avicius. I think that Jasmine can, just outfight Cortez. I mean, there's a slight size edge and grappling edge, and striking edge for Jasmine. I think Cortez has some decent boxing and can piece her up a little bit. And that's kind of probably the only way that Cortez can win, if she can get close the distance, and piece her up in the short game with her boxing. But I don't see that happening. I think Jasmine keeps the range. I think she's got a 3-inch reach advantage, 2-inch height advantage. I think she keeps the range a little bit. I think she doesn't let Cortez get a hold of her or close the distance. Cortez is training with Brian Ortega, which is pretty cool. But I mean, he can't fight the fight for her now, can he? So it's probably going to be a pretty close fight, I would assume. It's kind of a pick 'em. The Cortez is a minus 125 favorite. Jasmine's a plus 105 underdog. So I mean, it's going to be a close fight. It's a pick 'em. I think Jasmine comes out and wins this fight. I don't think that she's going to let Cortez get on her and close the distance. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I'm taking her, Jasmine.
Mm-hmm.
I think that even though, like, I mean, you look at their stats and significant strikes, 3.56 to 3.23. Significant strike percentage, 54% to 41. Absorb 2.32 to 3.92. And then defense, 59, 51. Their Cortez off the stats is a slight advantage, but they're so even pretty much everywhere that I think that as long as Jasmine can use her reach advantage, she'll be able to land more. And both these fighters, their past 5 fights have been going to decision. So I think that reach advantage can be the difference to make her win off of significant strikes and decision. So I'm going to go with Jasmine as well.
Yeah, and I agree. I think this fight goes the distance. I don't think either one of these fighters really have shown elite, finishing power at this level. So I think it's going to go to decision as well. But the next fight, Edgar Chairez versus Daniel Lacerda. Do you want to? Did I start last time? Yeah.
Yes.
So you go ahead. You go give your thoughts, and then I'll follow up.
Okay. I like to point out stats when I start.
Yeah.
So significant strikes. Edgar lacking a little on the 2.53. Lacerda's got 4.75. And then the stat that I don't love on Lacerda is how many he absorbs, 9.76. That's a ton. Grappling, I don't think that's going to be a factor in this match. So I think that Edgar will pull out a win. I think that his strikes will be heavier hitting. I think he'll land some on Lacerda and kind of rock him. And I imagine that he'll end up KOing him. Even Lacerda's coming off of a bunch of losses. KO ground and pound, KO to a ground and pound, KO to a submission, KO to counter right to ground strikes. He's just losing left and right. So I think that Edgar will pull out with the win with another KO on Lacerda.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Edgar gets the finish, the KO in round 2 or 3. I think he could also submit him. Lacerda is, I think he has like a good potential, and he shows some good flashes, and he has these moments where he's shows out as a fighter, but he's really just a first round kind of fighter. There's those guys that come out in the first round and they really just need to get that finish early in order to win. Zacchini, a couple weeks ago, the guy that we talked about, the first fight against the French fighter, who we talked about, the only way he can win is if he comes out and gets his first round knockout. And I think Lacerda is kind of the same way, where he needs to get this first round win, or he can't go past the first round for whatever reason. I think Edgar has good high guard. I think he's going to be able to stop some of these high shots. Lacerda likes to throw kicks. Like I said, Lacerda has this potential, but he really lacks. And I think fighter IQ is a good way to put it. I think he just is not a smart fighter, and I think he's on his way out of the UFC. I think he's going to face adversity. He's going to get finished like he has been, but he just lacks discipline. He lacks cardio, and like you said, Edgar's going to get a finish. I think round 2 or 3, he's going to knock him out. He's going to submit him, one of the two. Knockout's probably the safe bet, but I could also see him getting subbed. Getting knocked down and Chairez just jumps on top of him and submits him and chokes him out or something. But all right, on to the next fight. Roman Kopylov versus Josh Fremd, middleweight fight. Kopylov is a minus 340 favorite right now. Fremd is a plus 265 underdog. Fremd has a 4-inch height advantage, a 1-inch reach advantage. I think Roman is just going to beat the crap out of him, to be honest. I think that Fremd fought pretty recently. I don't remember exactly what date, but I think he fought not that
Month.
long ago. Yeah, it was a month ago. He fought not that long ago. So I mean, he just fought. He's coming in this fight against this really good kickboxer. He's a really precise kickboxer. Kopylov is. He manages the distance very well. And he's okay in grappling too. So I mean, even if like you have this kickboxer who can't grapple, and then that's the path to success for Fremd. I don't think that's even there. I think Kopylov just gets a KO. I don't even think it's a really TKO, to be honest. I think he just puts him out cold. He's a little smaller, like I said, 4 inch height disadvantage, but I think he's going to defend takedowns well. He's got a good jab, and he's going to set him up well for a big shot, a high kick, something as he's coming in. So a knee as he's dropping for a takedown or something. I think it's just going to be a complete beatdown, to be honest. I think.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Roman Kopylov will get a KO on Josh Fremd. Touch point on all that. I mean, it looks like both of them fought a month ago, but there is a difference between winning a fight with a KO and winning a fight to decision.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely, I didn't watch the most recent fight that Kopylov had, but a lot of the time when you're getting a KO in the fight, you're not taking as much damage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, decision, he probably took some damage. Now, Kopylov is just a better fighter in general.
Mm-hmm.
His striking landed per minute is almost double Fremd. His significant strikes are better. His defense is slightly better. His grappling is better. And almost every single one of his fights, he's KOing his opponent. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how this isn't a KO for Roman Kopylov. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the line should even be a little bit wider, minus 340. I think this is creeping into that. That first fight was minus 700. I mean, it's probably a similar kind of favorite, to be honest, in my mind. I think that Kopylov's just going to go out there and dominate him, and it's just not going to be that close. But anyways, on to the next fight. We have Lupi Godinez versus Elise Reed. This is the final fight of the prelim card. Lupi's a minus 440 favorite, and Reed is a plus 340 dog. This is a women's strawweight fight. If you want to get into it,
I'm gonna take Lupi. I think she's just overall the better fighter. She lands more shots. Same in accuracy. She has better defense. Her grappling is really good. And I do think it'll go to decision. So I think just as the two fighters off stats, I think that she'll end up landing more. And just obviously, if they're going to decision, she's just going to win. I don't see them knocking each other out. I don't see Elise Reed having that ability to knock her out. So simply enough, I think just Lupi wins decision.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a decision win by Lupi. Reed's got some stoppage losses, but Lupi really hasn't shown, that elite finishing prowess, at this level. Her fights typically have been going to decision, and they've been going longer, and I think that's because she fights really smart. She doesn't really overexert herself for the finish. And I think Reed's a decent, fighter with decent kickboxing, decent grappling defense. But I think she's relatively average at all those things. And a jack of all trade is a master of none. So I think that Reed is, she's a relatively average fighter. And I think that Lupi's going to win. Like you said, I think it's going to be a unanimous decision. I think she's going to piece her up. But it'd be surprising if she did get the finish, even though, I think she's going to dominate this fight a little bit. But she hasn't really shown it. But this could be the fight where she comes out, gets a finish and really makes that statement. But, we shall see. But we both have Lupi winning this fight. So that wraps up the prelims. So now the 5 main fights.
We're on the same page, so we better get them all right.
We're on the same page so far. First fight on the main card, we have Fernando Padilla versus Kyle Nelson. Padilla is a minus 250 favorite, and Nelson's a plus 205 dog. This is a men's featherweight fight. The Padilla has a 2-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage. 26 years old to Nelson's 32 years old. But the fact is, Nelson was almost out of the UFC. He got an upset win, and then I think he got like a weird draw or something like that, or a weird fight happened, where the person he was fighting had like a point deducted, and it was like very controversial. But Padilla is a good kickboxer. He's a lot longer, obviously, than Nelson. Like I said, he's got the height and reach advantage by far. He's got good spacing. I think this fight, I think Padilla wins this. And I think it goes the distance. And, either that or, potentially if it goes to the ground, I think Padilla may get a sub. I think Padilla is better on the feet and better on the ground than Nelson. He's better jiu-jitsu, better kickboxer. Nelson's kind of a wrestler style. And Nelson is also a dog. Not like an underdog, but like a DAWG. Like, he is a dog. Like, he doesn't get knocked out really. Like, and if he does, I mean, he's not giving up easy. So he's, decent at avoiding combos. But I think, he's going to get outstruck by Padilla in this one. Earlier in his career, oddly enough, Padilla was not a good striker. He was really jiu-jitsu focused. But then, since he's really given, some confidence in training into his striking, and he's got some pretty powerful hands. So I think that he's got good outside game. He's going to be able to avoid the takedowns. And if he does get taken down, I still think that he wins on the ground. But I think that he wants to keep this fight on the feet and, strike him from the outside, keep things long, keep Nelson away. So I see for Padilla winning this one for sure.
Yep, and I agree. I just have to say, look the stat of 11.88 shots landed per minute.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's kind of
crazy.
That is
great. But like you said, his takedown defense is good. So I don't see him I don't see Nelson being able to get him to the ground. I don't see Nelson doing well on the ground at all. So I don't think that's where it's going to be. It's going to be on the feet, and then just based off of his ability to land shots. I think he'll end up knocked. I know you said he's a dog. I know. Mm-hmm. I think he's getting knocked out by Padilla.
Yeah.
I also find it crazy that his average fight time is only 1 minute and 41 seconds. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
His knockdown average is 8.91. This guy's a stud.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I think it's going to be a good performance by Padilla. Nelson's been around the block. He could get knocked out 100%. I do think he is that dog though, and so he might be limping to the finish, but I think he could limp to the finish and just get completely 3-0 on the scorecard, or get knocked out in the second, third round. So a first round knockout would surprise me. That would really put Padilla on my radar, but so we both have Padilla in this one, winning this. So next men's lightweight fight, Daniel Zellhuber versus Christos Giagos. Zellhuber is a minus 280 favorite to Giagos, plus 230 underdog. Zellhuber is 6'1" to 5'10". He's 24 years old to 33, and he has a 5.5-inch reach advantage. I will let you get into this one.
Yeah. So one, I like him being a young fighter. He's getting into his UFC career. I think he's going to go places. He, like you said, he has that reach advantage, a significant one. I think that's going to play a huge factor into this fight, and being able to keep his distance and his range, land, more significant strikes. And simply enough, I think he'll win by decision. And it'll go to the distance. Yeah, I just think he's the better fighter, and he has all the tools to be able to win.
Yeah, I think he's long, he's strong, he's got
good striking. Great takedown defense.
Yeah, he's got
91%.
He's got great grappling defense and takedown defense. I mean, even his grappling's pretty decent. He's real long and lengthy. He's got a good long grappling advantage there. I think that he's going to be able to just hit him from the outside, keep good spacing, and just beat him up. He's going to outgun him from afar. And, Yagos has good strikes. If he can get in close, he's got some good hooks. He's got some good uppercuts he can hit him with. But, I see Zellhuber just keeping the distance and winning this fight, going to the decision. Zellhuber hasn't shown, another fighter who hasn't shown elite finishing power at this level. So if he can get a finish, that's awesome. But, I definitely think this fight probably goes the distance. I think Yagos just gets beat up in the process. So another fight we agree on. I'm curious to see if there's going to be one at this point that we disagree on. But the next fight, a men's bantamweight fight, highly anticipated Raul Rosas Jr. versus Terrence Mitchell. Rosas 5'9", Mitchell 5'10", 18 years old for Rosas. He was the youngest fighter ever signed in the UFC. He was like 17 when he was signed. He's about to turn 19. Mitchell's 33. And yes, he has a 7-inch reach advantage over Rosas. But this is going to this is the exact fight that Rosas needed after his previous loss, where he ran into adversity for the first time he's ever had a fight with adversity. The last fight he had, and he completely didn't know what to do. He panicked. He just got beat up. It was crazy to watch. But, I think that Rosas is far and away the better fighter on the ground and grappler. Mitchell's tall and slim. But, I think Mitchell, this is his first fight back in the UFC or second? This is his second fight back in the UFC, right? He was fighting on like the Alaskan region,
this will be his second fight
back. And he lost his first one.
He's fighting at Ace.
And he fought in the Alaskan, fighting whatever. I don't even know what it's called, but I think that, Rosas is going to submit him, maybe the second round, maybe the first round. It's going to be early, though. Maybe Mitchell's awkward kind of feet, game on the feet causes Rosas some issues in getting him down for a little bit. And maybe, if Mitchell's going to somehow pull off the upset, I didn't even see the line, plus 55.50 dog to minus 800 Rosas. It's not even worth betting on this fight because but I think Rosas 100% wins this fight. I don't see a world where he can't get him down, can't submit him. But this is exactly what Rosas needed is a fight to bounce back from that loss, as the UFC is trying to build him up as a star, a young upcoming star. He needed a kind of a tune-up fight almost, like in boxing that happens a lot. You get a tune-up fight or whatever. But I think that he just dominates Terrence Mitchell.
Yep, I agree. I think that, like you said, it's what he needs. He came off a pretty tough loss, but, as a young fighter, losses aren't necessarily a bad thing. He's able to bounce back and learn from it. He has a lot of, absolutely phenomenal fighters trying to train with him, give him tips. So I think between the time from his last loss into this, he's significantly going to be improved, and he was already a deadly fighter. So I think that Mitchell's not going to be able to do much of anything against Rosas. I think that the only spot where Mitchell would be strong against Rosas is on his feet and keeping a distance. But the way that Rosas likes to fight, he likes to get right up on you and muscle you around. So I see him submitting Mitchell.
Yep, 100% agree. You can only run for so long, even if you're that long, against a truly
young,
elite,
spry 18-year-old.
18-year-old, young, dumb, and full of running around the octagon at you, putting you up against the cage and trying to get you down. He's going to just go in there and just be dead full sprinting at him, trying to get him down. So I don't think it's going to be close at all. Next fight, this is the most interesting fight on the card for me, personally.
I'd say this is the one.
This is the one. This is the one I want to watch. Kevin Holland versus Jack Della Maddalena. I think I said that right. Holland is the plus 130 dog right now to the minus 155 favorite. It's basically a pick'em line almost. Not too much plus even money, pretty even. The height advantage 4 inches for Holland. He's 6'3" to 5'11". Similar age, 30 to 27. The reach advantage is kind of crazy, 81 to 73. I will let you get into the stats. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, let's read off some of these stats. So, Kevin Holland has a 56% win off KOs. Jack Dellum and Madalena has a 79%. Kevin Holland has a little edge on the submissions. And I don't have stats for Madalena. All right, well, Kevin Holland is a seasoned fighter within the UFC, 25-9. Madalena is 14-2. Let's see. He has a 5-win streak off of, TKO submissions. He has a number of decisions, and then you're coming into Holland. He had some trouble fighting people like Kazmat Chimaev. I mean, that guy's a dog, and I don't know much of anyone that's going to be able to fight that guy and beat him. And then Stephen Thompson, he ended up getting KO'd to him, but he's coming off 2 fights now that he won off a KO and a submission. It's such an even fight to me that this could go absolutely any way. I really like Kevin Holland as a fighter, and I'd love to see him, continue his win streak and bounce back. I'm so on edge, though. I could see. I feel like Madalena is going to just apply the pressure on Holland, and he's going to end up pulling out the win. I love Holland as a fighter, but I don't see him having the edge over Madalena. Personally.
Yeah. I agree. I think Madalena's going to win this one. Kevin's obviously much longer. He's got good boxing and submission game. And he really is good at kind of keeping his space, and he's a pretty good striker. And this could be that fight that he comes out and he really makes his name in the middle welterweight division. I mean, he's like, I'm here, like I'm a contender. I'm not just a seasoned pro who's fighting to get a good paycheck. I'm here for the belt. But I think Jack is, like you said, he's got really good pressure. He's got really good head movement. He's honestly low key one of the best strikers in the UFC. I mean, he's pretty good. I mean, he has 7.27 significant strikes landed per minute, almost a 60% significant strike accuracy, which is actually lower than Holland's at 64.84. But just watching him, I mean, he's a phenomenal striker. Yes, he's not as tall, he's not as lanky, but I think he's got that really good pressure. I think he's going to be able to get in and, keep his head movement, avoid some of these shots up the middle by Holland and really, land some big blows. I think this, I would love for this fight to be a dog fight and go to decision and just be an absolute war. But I think one of these guys are going to finish each other. And I'm picking Madalena to win. So I think Madalena is going to get a finish. But I can see this being a fight where Kevin Holland, he rocks him and then Madalena shoots for a takedown or something, or goes to the clinch, tries to get in the clinch, and then Holland's able to get a weird, choke or something on him. But, because he's a really crafty submission artist. So.
Yeah.
But
not to be slept on.
Yeah, not to be slept on 100%. I mean, Madalena's going to know that, right? So he's not just going to blindly walk into it. I mean, he's 15-2 himself.
I think the only way Madalena walks himself in that situation is if Holland can land a blow on him.
Yeah, if Madalena's really hurt and he's just trying to grab on. But yeah, I think we both got Madalena winning this fight. I think he gets to finish there. And then to our main event, we have Alexa Grasso, the current women's flyweight champion, versus Valentina Shevchenko, one of the women's flyweight goats. So I have Shevchenko winning this. I don't really believe that it's all that close either. I mean, Shevchenko she's consistently one of the best pound for pound women fighter. I mean, before she lost that very odd, I think it was a 4th round submission, the rear naked choke to Grasso. She was winning 4 takedowns to 0, 5 minutes, 24 seconds to control time to a minute, 22 seconds, 87 significant strikes to 59. I remember watching this with you. That was the night John Jones came back, and, it just was not, and he beat Cyril Gane that night, and it it was not a close fight at all. But I remember, like, she just kind of slipped into the rear naked choke by accident. Almost, it looked like. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't get, like, people were saying, oh, the age gap, like there's an age gap, like blah blah blah. Like Valentina's got all these miles, but like, I mean, Valentina's 35 and Grasso's 30. I mean, it's really not that big of a difference. I mean, it's pretty much even reach, half inch, same height, 5'5". Um, you know, I just think Valentina's so good. I mean, she had 8 title fight victories in a row with 7 defenses before she lost that fight, and she was on her way to 9 victories with 8 defenses. I mean, she beat people like Joanna Jacek, Jessica Andrade, like in their primes. I mean, she's just that dude on the women's side of things. And I just think she does not need to be slept on. I mean, she's only a minus 180 favorite to a plus 155 underdog Grasso. And, I see a lot of people picking Grasso in this one, but I just don't see it happening. I just don't see a world where Shevchenko does not go out. And, I mean, she, like, was giving an interview and she was like, I'm not coming back to just win my belt back. I'm coming to, like, dominate this woman. Like, I want no stone left unturned. I don't want any questions left about how good I am or, did she really deserve the win? Like, I want to show the world that I'm truly the better fighter and I'm that girl. So, yeah, I just think she's just going to dominate her.
Yeah, 100% agree. And, when you take a look at this stat sheet for this fight, if you just take off that submission attempt and the submission off of Alexa Grasso's stats, you'd like immediately say Shevchenko won. 87 of 145, 60% significant strike percentage versus a 32 percentage from Alexa Grasso with 59 of 181. So she's thrown out more and missing more. She's just striking better, landing better shots. 4 of 6 takedowns, so 66% takedown percentage. 5 minutes, 24 seconds of control time. I mean, just all of that. As long as she doesn't find herself in a weird situation like she did before and get some wacko submission again, which, statistically, like her falling into something like that again should not happen. So I don't see this. I don't see this being very close. I think Shevchenko comes out there and she demolishes Grasso.
Yep, completely agree. I don't know if there's ever going to be another time where we agree on that many fights.
That was flawless, right?
It was flawless. So we've never had a time.
We're either going to be really good or extremely bad.
I mean, even before we started, like, doing this, like when we would just talk about the fights and stuff, I feel like there was always like a fight or so that, like, at least one fight where we're like we've kind of like.
And it's also crazy that we did all the fights this time.
Yeah, we did all the fights.
Every single one.
Yeah, I mean, so cool. So now we're going to
take our lines.
We're going to take our lines. So at the end of each episode, UFC episodes, we do a little fantasy draft of the fighters coming up. So last week, I had the first pick. So Jake's going to get the first pick this week. Jake's team was Cape, Tafa, Tuivasa, Lane, and Dos Santos. Mine was Izzy, Pedro, Volkov, Sean, Strickland, and Turkali. I beat Jake this week. He beat me the first time. I beat Jake 439.8 to 292.2. So with that, Jake's going to get the first pick this time. So who do you want? Who do you think is going to...
I'll take Shevchenko. I think she'll just dominate in so many different ways, and I'll rack up a lot of points.
Yeah.
It's a lot to choose from now.
I know, it's a lot of fighters. I'm going to take Rosas and Kopylov. I think that those two fighters are going to get some early finishes. I think they're going to get some early finishes, which is just really big points in this scoring format. So I'm happy with that, but I do think there's still some good points to be had on the board here.
Yeah, let's go through. Ooh. All right. it's kind of just. Let's do Fernando Padilla.
Okay.
And I'll say Edgar. How do you say his last name? Chairez.
All right. Okay. So. This is tough. So many fighters. I'm gonna take Campbell and Knudsen.
Okay, Knudsen, Campbell.
I mean, you got guys.
Give me Loopy.
Oh, damn it. I was hoping you didn't take her. Loopy. All right.
And I'm going to go ahead and grab. Hate doing it. Sorry, Holland, but Jack Della Maddalena.
That's a good one. All right. So. Decisions.
It's starting to get to the scraps.
Yeah, it's starting to get to the fighters that I think are going to lose. There's only a couple left that I think are going to. There's only one left that I think is going to win. I think, or two actually. So I'm going to take Zell Huber, and I'm going to take Jasuda Vicious. So we have Cortez, we have Reyes, we have Mann, we have Lacerda, we have Fremd, Reed, Nelson, Gallegos.
All right, I'll go. I'll grab Tracy since that's a little bit more of an even fight. And then I'll take Holland. I'll just double up there just in case something happens.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. So, you know what? I'll take Lacerda on the off chance that he comes out and gets that first round knockout.
I was thinking about that.
On the off chance he comes out, you know,
maybe
he's real strong in the first round. So on the off chance he comes in and gets that crazy shot on Chairez, you know, now I at least have both of those guys. So actually you have Chairez, but on the off chance that I get a lucky knockout, I guess. I guess I'm gonna take. Grasso.
Yeah.
On the off chance that fight goes far, I guess so. I guess that's what I'm gonna do.
All right.
So we have Terrence Mitchell, Gallegos, Nelson, Reed, Fremd, and Reyes and Mann left.
Oof. Really getting to the scraps now.
Now we're getting to the people who are going to give us like 5, 10, 6 points maybe.
Okay. Let's. Oops. My list. I'll go. Oh, you're not letting me scroll. Okay. Christos Giagos.
Giagos, okay.
I'll go him. Because Daniel Zellhuber likes to draw out fights 15 minutes, so maybe he gets some points. After that, let's think. So we have Reyes. To me, it's between Reyes or Fremd. Probably Josh Fremd.
Fremd? Okay.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay.
I don't want anything to do with that Raul Rosas fight. You go ahead and have Mitchell.
No, I think I'll pass on that one. I will take Reyes. I'll take Reyes and so
Don't do it. Come on. Don't leave me with.
But there's
Take
Man.
Mitchell. Come on.
Wait, hold on. There's Man, Reed,
And Mitchell.
and Mitchell and Nelson.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think either way, I'm gonna end up with Mitchell because you're not gonna take him. So now it's between Nelson, Reed, and Man. I think Man's gonna get dominated. I think
this is an obvious choice.
I think this is definitely gonna be Nelson.
Yeah.
Especially
since you think he's a dog and he's gonna move it all the way to the third or through the third.
All right, so you want Reed and Man?
I'll take the women.
Okay, so you get Reed and Man.
Pass him over.
I got Mitchell. So that's gonna be like 1.5 points maybe. So, but whatever. So next week we will do another episode, obviously, and we'll recap, and we will give our reactions, and we will preview the next fight card. I think this was a pretty good one. We got through the whole card, in pretty good time. So I think that going forward when we do these, I think we should do the whole card. I like doing the whole card for it.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot more interesting. Makes me want to watch the prelims a little bit more. So a lot of times I'll just skip the prelims, but since starting doing this and watching the prelims in Paris, I mean that was really interesting. So
I see a lot of highlights a lot of the time for the prelims, and I want to start watching them because some of these fighters are going to end up making their way up to these main card fights eventually.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to say that I watched them when they're working their way up and gather a following. So I think there's a good opportunity for some good fights in these prelims, and then obviously some fantastic fights in the main card. Really excited for the Kevin Holland, Jack Della Maddalena. I think that's such a close fight, and it could go either way, and they're both great fighters, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the fight I'm looking forward to the most. And I just love the UFC. Like you said, some of these people are working their way up. I mean, there's so many different weight classes. There's so many different. There's women's. There's men's. I mean, there's each weight class is so deep with people. I mean, there's ranked top 15 people, but then there's so many unranked fighters. There's fighters getting new contracts all the time. I mean, the Dana White Contender Series and all these different programs and shows and things they have going on where they're giving these fighters, brand new, fresh fighters chances. And they think it's just so cool that you can there's staples in the sport and there's those guys that are at the top, but then there's so many people at the bottom that are trying to get there. And I think that's so cool to watch. And speaking of roster stuff, with the UFC, before we end this, I want to touch on Derek Brunson was removed from the UFC roster not but a couple hours ago. So we haven't really had a chance to talk about this. I don't know if you even saw that, but he was removed from the UFC roster, I think like 2, maybe 3 hours ago, something like that, a little earlier. And the UFC hasn't came out, I don't think yet, with a reason. So it's going to be, the news is supposed to be, out imminently. So I would assume, probably tomorrow. The news is going to come out as to why, but Derek Brunson is no longer on the UFC roster. So very interesting because I feel like he was a big name in the sport. He hasn't been having success lately, but I feel like, maybe he asked to be off or, something, or maybe he's retiring or maybe he's going to the PFL or, I don't know. So we shall see what happens next with Derek Brunson, but we will definitely update you guys on that. So with that being said, we are done. I'm Christian Kocsis. This is Jake Standard. This is the 3rd episode we've done. We're going to keep doing episodes every week. If you guys are, as always, if you guys are trying to get into, content creation, streaming, whatever, and you're looking for a platform to do it on, Streamlabs Ultra is pretty cheap. It's very easy to use. It's good. It's got its own video editing software, everything on here that you need. Go to the description of the video, sign up for your membership. So, but yeah, so we will see you later. And Jake, do you have any closing words?
No, just keep a lookout on the Discord. We'll be posting our thoughts on any changes to the roster, like you were saying. So just keep a lookout on there. We'll be posting.
Yep, sounds good. All right, we will see you guys next week.